Okay, welcome to our Erev Shabbat Parashat class, Parashat Ekeb. Moshe Rabbeinu's warning about the interior of our households. Moshe Rabbeinu, in a sub-speech in the beginning of our parasha, encourages us in a very strong and bold manner as we face the prospect of entering to war at Israel. He tells us in no uncertain terms that there's no reason to fear. You could recall the wonders that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has done with us up till now, the mighty hand that has guided us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to man the war on his own. It's going to take some time. We have to be patient with it. But in the end, he'll obliterate, he'll overtake, he'll dominate the enemy. And we can just sit back and watch the show, so to speak. And at the end of that sub-speech, Moshe Rabbeinu then warned what could happen in the aftermath of victory and obliteration of the enemy. And we're in Perek Zayin, chapter 7, Pasuk Kaf He, verse 25. And he tells us, after saying that he's going to wipe them out, Pisile Elohehem tisrefun ba'esh. Their deities, their idolatry, burn it in fire. Lo tahamod kesef v'zahav alehem v'lakachtalah. Don't covet the gold and silver that is on them and take for yourself. Pen tevakesh bo, lest you be entrapped by that material wealth. And ki tu'avad Adonai Elohecha, it's God's abomination. I want you not at all to be tempted to partake in it. And then he continues, don't ever bring abomination into your house, and you will be banned like it. You shall reject it, you must abominate it, you must scorn it, you must feel that it is repulsive, abhorrent, and abominable to you, because it is haram, it is banned. So Moshe Rabbeinu seems to have gotten a little excited in this advice over here. Let's talk about what, according to halacha, what mizvah, what warning, what is he referring to here? And is that all there is to it? So the Ramban really starts the discussion for us and tells us that this is, of course, telling us avodah zarah. You have to not only wipe out their physical avodah zarah, but also he calls it the noyeh avodah zarah, the accessories, the adornment of the avodah zarah. Kesef v'zahav. If there's something that came with the avodah zarah, perhaps it's not worshipped per se, that also has to be obliterated. And so far as to say, lo tevi tu'abal betecha, no remnant, no hinting, no particle of avodah zarah may you derive benefit from. Can't be brought into your house. It can't at all have any connection to you. It must be completely wiped out, burnt, and obliterated. And indeed, Sefer HaChinuch records this in halakha, and he explains that this mizvah refers, he actually divides it into two mizvot. Don't take the kesef v'zahav, kesef lo tahmor, kesef, don't covet the gold and silver. Alehem v'lakachtalach refers to what he calls a kisui, the coating of avodah zarah. You might have a nice gold and silver coating of something just to make it look attractive and pretty. That has to be wiped out. And then in the next pasuk, don't bring abomination into your house, he says, refers to the general prohibition of not deriving any benefit at all, not allowing in our property any remnant, any hinting of any bit of avodah zarah. And from a legal standpoint, the Rambam in the Mishneh Torah, the laws of avodah zarah, tells us about how that works in terms of what's considered to be possessing, owning. What is status of avodah zarah? Indeed, it's very possible for something, an idol or any other article that was worshipped as a deity, to be nullified. A goy himself, a non-Jew himself, if he were to wake up one morning and say, this is irrational, this is unreasonable, and he nullifies it, he rejects it, he does something physically, he breaks it, he throws it away, that no longer is avodah zarah. One may take that and derive as much benefit as he wants from that article, because he himself was mevatel, he nullified the status of avodah zarah. And so therefore, the Rambam says, if that's the case, you can partake from it. The pasuk here alludes to pisile Elohehen tisrifun ba'esh. If when it comes into your possession and you're in contact, it's still Elohehen, they have not yet rejected it and nullified it. Then tisrifun ba'esh. Then you're obligated to burn it and to rid of it. And in fact, the next pasuk you can say, although the Rambam doesn't say this, but he does say in his next law that therefore any avodah zarah that's owned, maybe God forbid, even actually worshipped by, but owned by a Jew, is avodah zarah forever. A Jew can't nullify it. He doesn't have in his power what the Gentile could have done. And perhaps therefore the next pasuk tells us, as soon as you bring it into your home, it's too late. Its status is now sealed. Its fate is sealed for eternity, and there is only one course of action right now at your discretion, and that is burn, obliterate, rid of it. And there is even some practical, situational halachic applications to this, as Rabbi Bachya says, that Hachamim tell us that this is perhaps a warning, not in an idolatrous and paganistic society, not to rent your house to a non-Jew. Because according to some opinions, sichirut, rental, is not kinyan, is not ownership. So the goy, who's a pagan, brings in his culture of idolatry into what is essentially your home, and that becomes your possession. Lo tavi tra'abal betecha. Don't allow that abomination to enter into your house, even via rental, because you may slip without knowing it. There's a mahloket he brings down. The Geonim say it only applies to residences in Israel, and of course it only applies to a society that is paganistic. But you see that there are a number of reflections to this warning and to this law. However, you get the feeling that there's a little more than the legal discussion in this pasuk, because Moshe Rabbeinu, he sort of digresses a little bit, doesn't he, in his warning, and almost goes off script for a moment when he tells us almost in a manner of not just stating cold law, but giving us little sound advice. Don't bring this into your home. The consequence might be you'll become herem kamohu, banned like it. What does that mean exactly? What is this advice? What is behind the technical legal discussion of accessories of avodah zarah and the like? And the Emek Davad reminds us that there is a lot of danger here in that which is banned by God, especially if idolatrous. And he reminds us that in the times of war, for instance, God himself rejects us when we embrace that which he rejects. And he tells us that just go back and look at the book of Yehoshua in the breach into in the war against Yericho, where Yehoshua warned the people, and he says, I'll read you the words, Rak atem shmiru min ha'herem. Be careful of what's banned. And he says, Penta harimu uklachtem min ha'herem, lest you partake in that which is off hands to you. Then samtem et machane Yisrael ha'herem. Then you'll cause our encampment to be banned as well. And that indeed is exactly what happened, where a person called Achan and several other people, the Torah says, violated soon afterwards, and post-victory, the warning, did not heed the warning of Yehoshua. And they took from the spoils, which was banned paganistic and idolatrous articles. And the next battle with famously, Am Yisrael lost. Yeshua was in shock. He said, God, you said that There's a guarantee here. We're on a roll. There's no losing here. This is only win-win in this battle. What's happening? You faltered. And you did not hear, the people didn't heed your warning. They partook in the Harim, that which is banned. Amek says, look what happened. God bans you. The Shekhinah relinquished itself from Am Yisrael. Look how there's an exponential danger, specifically in times of danger. And we see, therefore, that there's a little window open that Moshe Rabbeinu opened for us in this discussion to tell us that there is consequences by partaking in something that is off limits to you, even if you don't really engage in and involve yourself in it. And in fact, the Sefer HaChinuch, in the very same discussion of the technical and legal law that comes from these Pesukim, takes it to another level, and he extends the discussion. And he says, you know what else this mizvah is talking about in terms of not bringing Tu'avah, abomination, into your house? He said, it's your wealth as well. He said, in your wealth that God granted to you in his mercy and compassion, don't attach to that wealth that which God rejects. That's what's called Tu'avah. You know, the Torah uses that word Tu'avah, abomination, very sparingly. I'll give you two of the only examples that it's used in. It's in terms of the prohibition of homosexuality, Tu'avah. And you know what else? The idea of dishonesty and unethical behavior with money in business. God calls that, in Parashat Kiteseh, look it up, a tu'avah, an abomination. And he says, when God grants you wealth, I warn you, don't attach to your wealth. Don't poison your wealth. Don't contaminate your wealth with even a tiny percentage of unethical, dishonest behavior, be it interest, be it dishonesty, thievery in any way, shape, or form. Because if you do, then you've contaminated the entire wealth. Then not just that portion, but everything you own becomes haram, becomes banned. And then, and by the way, he said, the avodah zarah terminology here refers to, in a symbolic manner, the avodah zarah, which is a fiery, refers to the yetzer hara, which is a fiery urge and desire, as money, of course, is an incredible lure to us. And he says the tu'avah does not necessarily have to be limited, the abomination that Moshe Rabbeinu warns us of avodah zarah. It's anything that's abominable to God. It's anything that is antithetical to the ethical and moral behavior of Am Yisrael. And he says that in fact and indeed, hayita harem kamohu, which means, says in this situation with monetary violations, that God will reject you and will bar minan. Anything in your possession can become obliterated and cursed. And eventually, like the prophet warns us, that someone who amasses wealth unjustly, somewhere along the line, God will make sure that you'll lose that money. And so the Sefer HaChinuch has opened up a whole new world of discussion in terms of the insights of Moshe Rabbeinu's warning over here. Don't bring Tu'avah. Don't bring that which is immoral, that which does not reflect godly values rather than Gentile, paganistic, but even just unethical values into your homes. And our Rabbi, Moshe Rabbeinu, understood very well that we are completely products of our environment. And when we are surrounded by, what we are in contact with, when we are engaged in, especially in the four walls of our homes, something that is not within the ethical code of Jewish behavior, indeed, not only it is something that is banned by God, but we attach ourselves to it. As the prophet Yirmiyah warned us in the second chapter of Yirmiyah, and this is one of the terrible, you can say, disappointments that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had in us, and what made him destroy the Beit HaMikdash. He says, why did your forefathers, what did they have What beef do they have with me? They followed the frivolous, nonsensical lifestyle, and they became hevel. It rubbed off on them. We're only human. And when we are surrounded by something that is in and of itself ungodly, we become ungodly. In the 20th century, this took on a whole new meaning when it no longer had to be an article, a physical specimen that's located in our house. All of a sudden, we were presented with images on screens in the form of television, etc. And that could bring to'eva and abomination into our house with immoral scenery and unethical behavior and ideas that threaten the very fabric of the moral code of Judaism. And of course, in the 21st century, it took on another meaning altogether, and it blew it out of the water when the four walls of our home became mobile and no longer have to be something in an enclosed area, as we very often can travel with what, if used incorrectly, becomes the hevel, and we become hevel with it. And so Moshe Rabbeinu indeed projected a very, very long-term eventual behavior of the world around us that Am Yisrael has to be very careful of. Moshe Rabbeinu was so astute in his understanding of what are the dangers of wrong influences that his message has resonated forward centuries and millennia in terms of the dangers of bringing to'eva, of bringing abomination, of bringing that which is the antithesis of Torah and godly values and behavior into our homes, exposed to our families, and in modern day, even on our person. Warns Moshe Rabbeinu that our surroundings are real and that we are threatened if we do not heed the warning of keeping them clean and filtered and godly, and only on the ethical and moral standards. If it's allowed to reside in our homes, eventually, vahita herem kamohu, it becomes part of our being, consciously or even sometimes unconsciously. And therefore, the Torah commands, and Moshe Rabbeinu gives us his stern but loving advice. Shakes to shakesenu, to ta'eb to ta'abenu. Reject it. Make sure that you feel that it's an abominable to you, because otherwise, this is something that we're all exposed to and all endangered by. And Moshe Rabbeinu therefore says, I need to give you the most acute and wholesome and loving advice about your homes and your lifestyles and your family. Lo tabi to'eva. Don't let it enter and don't let it threaten our holy and ethical and moral and godly code of our Torah Kedusha. Amen v'amen. Shabbat shalom.